Hello, welcome to the Beasley Equine Podcast. I'm your host and equine veterinarian, Dr. Travis Beasley. This is our first podcast introducing you to our clinic, our team, who we are, what we do, and why we do it. We're going to dive into the history of the clinic, where we're at now, and kind of where we're going. So stay tuned for some interesting stuff from our clinic.
Veterinary surgeon or start to come quick. Draw the syringe and give it a flick. Bring your little black bag with the medicines in. Bring the trank and the crank and the penicillin.
So like I said, I'm Dr. Travis Beasley. I'm a 2013 graduate from the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine. I'm also the son of the original Dr. Ron Beasley, who founded the clinic in 1981. So I've grown up immersed in horses and equine veterinary care. I'm almost 40 years old now, and it's been a big part of my life and my family's life. After I graduated, I spent a year in Texas at a surgical and reproduction center in the most horse-dense county at that time. And internships are kind of a year-long, intense workload where you learn a ton. And a good internship is something you're glad you did, but you would never do it again. And we worked about 70 hours a week. We got one weekend off a month. And I learned a ton, but I don't really want to do that again. So in 2014, I moved back home to practice with my dad and my brother, who is also an equine veterinarian, was working there at the time. So I got a lot of guidance from those two. My brother's got a real unique history with farrier work, and now he's board in sports medicine. So we'll talk a little bit about him and my dad. My dad graduated from the University of Illinois as well in 1974. And after graduation, he went to the University of Michigan to do a surgical residency where he worked with the greats like Dr. Dallas Goebel, Dr. Steve Reed, who's a world-renowned veterinarian at Root and Riddle now. And I always think of how spoiled we are as young vets, having cell phones and digital x-rays, and those guys were doing it before all of that. Even some of the drugs we have today, they didn't have. So, those were the old days before GPS and before you could text people, and he'd go out on calls and have to come back and be like, hey, so-and-so called, even though you're a mile away, you got to turn around and go. So in 1981, he planted this little oak acorn in El Dorado, Illinois, the southern part of Illinois. And since then, we've been growing it into a really big oak tree, and we hope to continue to grow it and provide excellent care for equines all across the state and neighboring states, and hopefully the whole country. I mentioned my brother earlier. He is a 2010 graduate of the University of Illinois, and he went to Root and Riddle Hospital in Lexington that following year and did a hospital internship. And during vet school, he also was a farrier. He's a certified journeyman farrier. So he left Root and Riddle in 2015 after working in the podiatry department for a couple of years and returned home. So there was 3 Dr. Beasleys there, and I was lucky enough that I got to study under both of them. And since then, he's moved on to the University of Georgia, him and his wife, who is an internal medicine specialist there in the equine department. And like I said, he's a DVM, he's a certified journeyman farrier, and he's also boarded in sports medicine, equine sports medicine and rehab, which as far as I know, he might be the only one in the country, probably the world, that's got all those credentials behind his name. So as you can imagine, our conversations at Thanksgiving and Christmas get a little interesting and graphic, not for the faint of heart. So we wanted to start this podcast because one of our core values there is improving the welfare of the horse through owner education. And we thought, what better way to reach people than do this podcast? And I want to thank our friends at Just Say Hey. They let us take over their studio. They're helping us with this technical stuff. So we couldn't do this podcast without them, and also for them providing us with a high-quality hay to feed at the clinic and my personal horses at home. So we hope to share a lot of educational stuff, tips for horse owners, preventing certain things, and just really educating people on how horses work and how we can improve their lives through caring for them. So we're going to cover topics, everything from medicine to novel treatments, different care, prevention tips, and if it has to do with horses, we're going to talk about it, whether it's the different types of trailers we use, different types of feed, nutrition, and all that kinds of stuff. And the other thing is during college and vet school, I played in a couple bands, and I've got a pretty diverse musical background. So we're going to tap into some guests that have interest in horses and hopefully get them here in the studio for some interesting conversations. Guests like Cor Blund, he's on our radar, and some of my musical heroes like that. So the podcast is basically gonna be a little bit of mix of everything. We're gonna do several solo shows that'll be certain topics, certain things like gastric ulcers or lameness, and we'll do some deep dives into that. We're gonna have interviews. We're gonna have case reports and just some unique stuff that we come across every day with the goal of really letting you guys learn kind of behind the scenes what's going on in our minds and why we do some of the things we do, and how you as owners can help us as veterinarians and help the horse in the short term too. So we'll have Q&As, we'll have updates on things, and the thing about veterinary medicine and especially equine care right now is it's ever evolving. Like I said, the clinic we're working in now that was built in 1981, we have a lab that used to be the dark room that develops x-rays. And I joke with people, but it's not really a joke, but everything in our lab didn't even exist when the clinic was built. We got blood machines. We can measure complete blood counts, serum chemistry, serum fibrinogen, serum amyloid A. We got a new PCR that can test for strangles and herpes virus in a matter of hours versus sending it off to a lab where it's going to take days to weeks to get back. Shockwave, laser, digital x-ray, digital ultrasound, power floats, all that stuff we keep in our lab, that wasn't even a thing when this place was built. So it's exciting for me to think of where we're going to be when I'm 40 years down in my career, because even the 10, 12 years I've been practicing, things have changed dramatically. So we're a relatively small clinic right now. Dad retired a few years ago due to some back problems and surgery. So I'm the only veterinarian right now, but I do have a really great support team. My technician, she's a local girl. Her name's Autumn Rain Harwood. She's from a little town called Harrisburg right up the road. She joined a few years ago right out of high school. So all of her training's been firsthand under me. So I think a lot of the practical stuff she's learned. She's not spending a whole semester learning how to restrain a cat for nail trims or how to squeeze the anal glands on dogs or something. So she does a little bit of everything besides just cleaning up after my big messes. She scrubs for joint injections, scrubs for surgeries, trots all the lame horses, and I joke with people that's how she stays so skinny. It's because she's making trips up and down the driveway all day, try to help me figure out why these horses are lame. And the other thing she does is she keeps me safe. And then in the office, we have Hannah Jackson. Hannah and her parents are lifelong clients of the clinic. Her mom and dad have a successful cutting horse training operation just outside of town. And we're pretty lucky to have Hannah. She graduated from Baylor University a few years ago with a degree in communications. And she's super organized, so she keeps all of us operating smooth and functionally and keeping the clinic in top shape. And she also reviews all of me and our emails and everything. It make us sound a little more intelligent, not like a horse vet wrote the newsletter or something. So all of our promotional stuff, that if it sounds like it's really well written, that's probably why. It's because she got her hands on it. And the man behind the curtain, John Ruddick, he's got a degree in equine science from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. John's kind of going to be like our Jamie for any of those that listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. He's going to be in here. You probably won't see him too much, but without him, we couldn't do all this. He does our YouTube videos. He manages our YouTube channel, which has had pretty good success in the past year. And when he came to me and said, hey, we should do a YouTube channel, I looked at him like he was crazy. But it's taken off, and I got to say, he was right and I was wrong, because in just under a year, we've got 1 million views, almost 5,000 subscribers, and almost all that stuff is educational too. So we're getting out of our small population of horses in Southern Illinois and helping people worldwide with through education. And the YouTube channel is a big part of that. And then we also have a girl by the name of Jenny Buchanan, and she's a third-year vet student now at the University of Illinois. And she works for us during the summers and on her breaks, and she's going to be a rock star vet someday. When she got into vet school, she was working in Kentucky as a technician at a mixed animal clinic. And I think her mom was there one day with a horse, and she said, "Hey, are you hiring?" And I said, "No, not really, but she can come job shadow anytime she wants." So that following Monday, she showed up, and it was a typical Monday in the summer. We were nuts, running 2 or 3 appointments at a time, had emergencies, and she really saved the day and highlighted all of her skills. So there was a different girl working in the office at the time. But I remember after that day being able to leave at 6 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock because of all of her help. And I asked the girls, I said, "Hey, if you guys can all get along, what do you think about hiring her?" And it was unanimous. And it's been really fun to watch her progress from a first year to a third year vet student. And she takes it very serious. She's done a lot of stuff on her own. She ultrasounded a whole horse's abdomen the other day, just as good as I can, and was pointing out structures. And it's been really fun to watch her grow, and I can't wait to see what she does in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because the plans right now is she's going to return home and work for us. So being a solo vet has a lot of challenges, and with her coming back, there is a light at the end of the tunnel right now, and I don't believe it's a train anymore. So I can't wait for her to graduate, get those initials behind her name where we can really turn her loose. And then we're also very fortunate to have a world-renowned farrier on our team who visits the clinic for a few days every 2 or 3 weeks. He's a guy by the name of Steve Summershine. Don't ask me to spell his last name for checks. I don't know how. I Google it every time. We grew up team roping, and he was a roper and a farrier, and we became family friends over the year. And he's the farrier that trained my brother and set him up for such a successful career. And we're just so lucky he comes to the clinic and helps us. I learn so much from him every time he comes. Local farriers come and observe him. We work up cases together, and we've really been able to help horses as far as foot conditions go because we have access to him. And even before he was working there, he was at the university, and he was a constant phone a friend. We had foot problems. I'm like, let me text Steve and see what to do on this. And he's got more initials behind his name than the alphabet. I don't even know what half of them mean, but they mean he's really, really good at his job. So like I said, we're a small but mighty team right now. I consider all of them family. I care for them like family. I love them like family, and that team approach is how we can keep going most days and really help these horses. And everybody's got their jobs, but some days it's all hands on deck. It gets nuts in there, especially in the springtime with emergencies. And without this team, I couldn't care for half the horses we do. So that's one of my favorite aspects of the clinic right now. We're one big family and a team with a wide array of experience and horsemanship, and because of them we can really help a lot of these horses and the whole team approach to things, the whole horse approach, because where we're at in the country, particularly the state, we never know if we're going to work on a backyard horse that hasn't been ridden in 20 years, but there's a little granddaughter that just absolutely loves him. Or the next appointment might be a seasoned show horse that's insured for more money than my house is worth. So we get a lot of different horses, primarily Western performance, but we get the backyard horses. In our backyard is the Shawnee National Forest, and people come from all over the country to ride the trails. It's some of the best in the country. So we get to work on some gated horses and trail horses and stuff like that. So it's really fun to meet these people from different parts of the country as well. And we have, every vet says this, but I will die on this hill that we have some of the best clients in the world. And that's what keeps us going and makes us keep working every day. And a lot of our clients will end up becoming friends and basically family. So the equine community is relatively small, And the equine vet community is even smaller. It's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's more like the 2 degrees of equine vets. Because if I don't directly know another colleague, I guarantee you we have mutual friends, and we communicate. We're all in this for the horse. So the whole team approach and constant learning from other vets and guiding young vets is very exciting in our industry. So that's where we're at the clinic right now. But our future plans, we do plan on growing quite a bit. Like I said, Jenny Buchanan's coming back in 2026 to be an associate vet, and I'm hoping after we get vet number 2, we can get vet number 3, vet number 4, and even vet number 5 or 6. That's our goals. The sky's the limit right now as far as expanding operations so we can help more horses and help more owners and again educate more people through this, because that's one thing we really try to do at the clinic is not say this is what your horse needs and this is what it costs. I want people to understand why they need it and the options they have to really benefit the horse, because, I mean, the care of the horse has just expanded so much over the careers. Dad always tells a story of one of the first rope horses he worked on was like 14 or 15. He's thinking, why is this guy wanting to spend a bunch of money on this old horse? It's about time to retire him. And now that's about the average age of these horses coming in. And we got horses that are still showing every weekend, competing in their mid to late 20s, and they don't look like it. They look like a 14, 15-year-old horse. And a lot of that's because of the advancements we've made in care and medicine and preventative medicine and dentistry, which we're going to talk about all that stuff on this podcast. So the thing with hiring vets is there is a shortage of equine veterinarians out there. And if I'm a new vet looking at a place to go, and this clinic has one other vet, so that means I'm going to be on call every other weekend or every other night or every other week. But this clinic over here has 3 vets, so that means I'm going to be on call 1 weekend a month or 1 week of the month. So I think we'll be more attractive to hire some really top-class veterinarians once we get our team a little bit bigger. And then with more team members, then comes more growth to the clinic. We've got our eyes set on a lameness and rehabilitation center that'll all be indoors, so we can work on horses any time of the year in any environment. We're in Southern Illinois, like I said, and everything is covered with about an inch or 2 of ice right now. We haven't even touched a horse in 2 or 3 days because it's not safe to haul them in. Most people have been without power for a few days, but when we build facilities like that, we can also house horses that if other places lose power, and incorporate the rehab aspect into that too. That's a hot topic right now, and we're learning, especially learning from a human side of things, with human medicine and rehab. Really not just saying, okay, yeah, your horse has this, 6 months off. No, we know how important rehab is on these things to prevent future injury and really heal current injuries with the best quantity or quality of healing and decrease the time it takes with all these different things. And then we're working with Steve, our farrier, to build a farrier center, like a shoeing facility, where he can work out of and get the most of, and also have access for local farriers if they need consultation with me or x-rays, where they can come in, be set up, go to work, and help these horses. So that's going to be some exciting stuff in the future. And the laboratory, we're going to expand that, where we can do a lot of in-house stuff, and maybe for other veterinarians in the other part of the state that can bring us samples instead of having to FedEx stuff and rely on the mail service, and get results that we can get a diagnosis quicker and help these horses. So that's kind of where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going, and what we're going to hopefully accomplish with this podcast. And like I said, the vet world is so small, and I don't want to brag, but I do have access to some of the leading people for certain conditions and stuff that goes on with these horses. So I'm hoping on this couch right over here, we can sit down with some of the renowned researchers and leaders on certain conditions and really take deep dives into these things and figure out how we can better treat these horses and prevent certain things from happening. So stay tuned for a bunch of interesting interviews and stuff like that. So to close this up, be sure to look us up on Facebook. If you have any questions or comments and you want to send us something regarding the podcast, just search Beasley Equine Clinic on Facebook. Shoot us a direct message on there. John checks those things, and like I said, he's going to be producing this podcast, so he'll be your go-to guy for that. And then we also have the YouTube channel that I mentioned, so look us up on there. There's a lot of interesting cases and how-tos and kind of preventative tips, and some of the stuff you may be dealing with in your horse we'll take a little bit of deeper dive into, and you can understand these conditions a little more. So that's pretty much it for episode 1. Episode 2, we're going to dive into EGUS, or Equine Gastric Ulcer Syndrome, which, according to the American Association of Equine Practitioners, affects about 90% of racehorses and 60% of performance horses, although it knows no bounds on age or use. It's something we deal with all the time in the clinic. So we're going to dive into that, how the gastric ulcers happen, why they happen, how we diagnose them, how we treat them, and most important for you guys that own horses, how we can prevent them and how we can manage these horses and still keep them in top performing shape, but also mitigate their risk for ulcers. And then I mentioned Jenny several times in this episode. We're going to sit down with her before she goes back from Christmas vacation to vet school, and you're going to get a look into the life of a third-year vet student, some of her trials and tribulations, and what she's going through right now, so she can come out and help all these horses. So that's where we're at, and thanks for tuning in. And until next time, take care of yourself and your horses.
Veterinary surgeon, start to come quick. Draw the syringe